Can I first of all join with others in welcoming the fact that between this week and last week schools have reopened since their forced closure 5.5 months ago, and all of us hope that they will remain open in what are challenging times for teachers, auxiliary staff and pupils. And I wish to commend all of the staff involved in getting schools ready at very short notice in what are exceptionally difficult and unprecedented circumstances. We all want to see our schools functioning properly so that our children and young people get back to some sort of normality and receive the best education possible during the COVID crisis. Now, the last 5.5 months have been very difficult for all sections of our society, and our young people have been particularly badly affected. Their forced isolation from their extended family and friends has not only impacted on their education, but has curtailed their personal development and social interaction. The COVID lockdown has had an even greater and disproportionate impact on young people with special educational needs. And children and young people with additional needs have reported emotional, social, physical and behavioural difficulties. And the absence of play and the inability to socialise with friends has had a seriously negative impact on their lives. The lack of routine as a result of school closures has adversely affected many, not least those with ASD and their parents who have had to shoulder what is the considerable burden of homeschooling and remote learning. Indeed, the results of surveys carried out during the lockdown have reported significant regression in children's behaviour and social skills, with many reporting increased levels of anxiety, agitation and more challenging behaviours for some. And it has been additionally difficult for children with more complex needs to understand and comprehend why restrictions were required in the first place and what a pandemic means. But in addition to the closure of schools, other services have also ceased or operated at a much reduced capacity, and I particularly refer to therapeutic services such as speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, etc., all of which have been stopped or only offered on a very limited basis. And the reason for this, I'm told, is that staff have been redeployed to testing and contact tracing, which might have been justified at the outset of this crisis when no one knew what was in store for the country or how things would pan out, but I do not understand why these particular staff still remain deployed. These are highly qualified staff who are tasked with taking care of people who have additional and complex needs, and they provide vital services that are presently being denied to the children who badly need them, and without which their anxiety levels greatly increase, especially now as schools reopen. Children with SEN are returning to school after being denied essential help for 5.5 months, and these services must be reinstated immediately. Children with SEN transitioning from preschool to primary or primary to secondary, or indeed secondary to PLC or third level, need the support of the therapies. Normally, preparatory courses will be carried out with the young people transitioning from one school to the next, and they will be offered support, and their parents will be given advice on how to support their child. And a transitional report would then be prepared for the new school, outlining the needs of the student so that they are provided with the supports to manage their new environment. And this could be something as simple as identifying that a student is unable to cope with crowds, meaning that a locker should be assigned at the end of a row rather than in the middle where people congregate. It would also be as simple as colour coding the timetable to assist the student in better orientating the school rota. But to my knowledge, that report was not done this year, which is worrying, as such preparation in these most difficult of times is more vital than ever. I'm also very concerned at the lack of information pertaining to students with special educational needs in the roadmap for reopening schools. There was a half page which gave advice which to me didn't differ in any way to advice given to other students. There should have been links to NEPS and Enable Ireland, the Child Development Team and other organisations who would normally have an input into helping young people with SEN return to school. Concerned parents have been in touch with me about shared SNAs between classes also. Most students are only allocated access to an SNA, which results in the SNA having to travel between classes, and this has raised understandable concerns that such an arrangement may result in the spreading of COVID. And I feel strongly that this sort of contact should be limited, meaning there needs to be an increase in the number of SNAs immediately. It is also vitally important that special education teachers in mainstream schools are not used to cover classes of teachers who are absent due to COVID or indeed for any other reason. Special education hours must be ring-fenced for special education, and the department needs to take decisive action against any principal who even attempts to do this. Due to the lack of support outside of school, children who are finding it difficult to return to the school environment must now be given the supports to do so, or, if necessary, given access to the home tuition scheme. Reporting these incidents to the Educational Welfare Officer will only serve to add to the stress of the situation, and every effort should be made to encourage students back into school without resorting to this action. Because some parents would have indicated that because those children are out of school and out of routine for so long, they are finding it very difficult to get them back to school. Just very quickly, if I could just ask the Minister, when will the therapeutic services be resumed? Now, I know that mightn't be directly related to her ministry, but it's connected, it's very strongly connected. Also, are there plans to increase the number of SNAs? And you made reference to the 120 additional NEP psychologists being recruited. Are they actually working now in schools, or is that just something that's going to happen in the months to come? Thank you.